Into the business of the day. Tonight's conversation takes us to Kebbi State, where governors elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC gathered to deliberate on pressing national issues. At the top of their agenda is finding a lasting solution to the ongoing disagreements between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. Joining me now to shed more light on the outcomes of the meeting is Abdullahi Idris, Special Advisor on Communication and Strategy to the Governor of Kebbi State. You're welcome to the program, Mr. Idris. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Right. So one of the key issues discussed was the ongoing disagreements between ASUU and the federal government. Why did the governors decide to wade into this matter at this time?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The governors have no option than to intervene, simply because of the multiplier effect of the unfortunate situation. You must be aware, or you are aware, that the schools affected, most of the federal universities, they have federal universities located in their various states where their sons and daughters are learning. They have their own state universities where they are funding adequately. And with this development, how do you think they can cope up? How do you think, or do you think it will not retard the promotion of education in these states? It will affect. They have made investments in their own universities, and some of them are shouldering the responsibility of backrolling the students in the federal universities. So what happens to this investment? How will the students go back home and do what? How would they feel? So honestly, these are some of the reasons why they have to intervene. They have discussed at length. They have agreed that they will collectively present the issue to the national headquarters of the All Progressive Congress, and for onward submission to Mr. President to continue dialoguing with the striking lecturers, so that the end, they will come to the end of this unfortunate situation. It has multiplier effect, like I explained to you. So they are duty bound as democratically elected governors with concern on the development of education in their various states.
Adequate funding for some of these states' university is a debatable conversation, but perhaps if we have enough time, we'll come back to that. But are the governors concerned that this ongoing ASUU strike could affect the party's image ahead of future elections? Is that why the meeting was held, and not necessarily because the governors care about the teachers or the students?
No. The priority is on the future of the students. The issue of education, it doesn't have anything to do with 2027. It shouldn't be made, they did not make it a campaign issue. They made it an issue that has terrible effects on the upbringing and educational developments of the youth. And how do you explain the university students going back home at this time of armed banditry all over? Do you think some of them can resist some offers? That is the most dangerous aspect of it. Keeping them home, doing nothing. An idle mind is a devil workshop. So that is why the governors of the APC control state are very, very much concerned about this unfortunate development. Forget about political issues. Most of them have done very well, so they don't see it as a campaign issue.
But Mr. Idris, does this signal a shift in how the APC leadership views the ASUU crisis? You know, because some Nigerians say there is a level of dishonesty on the part of the governors. You know, I see that the APC governors are urging ASUU to embrace dialogue. Nigerians expected the same governors to tow same path as the Senate, ask the federal government to fulfill these agreements rather than asking ASUU to dialogue.
Now, you see, the agreement between the federal government and ASUU is entirely a national issue, not affecting individual states. Agreement reached on what basis, what informed it, the governors may not be aware. It's a decision, it's an agreement reached with the federal authorities. So I don't see how governors should go and insist that the agreement must be respected. No, they're not part of the agreement.
You don't think that is possible? You don't think that is possible? They are stakeholders. And also some believe dialogue has been tried many times before without real change. So what makes this new push different?
What makes it different is, like I told you, it's a national issue that involves everybody. Every stakeholder in education, not only the governors, the educationists, the non-governmental organizations, have to come in and find solution. So when you say governors should go and enforce or insist on the federal government to agree or to use the agreement and so that everything, no. They don't know the basis of the agreement.
No, you can't say they don't know. The documents are public.
But not everything is being made public.
So since they are playing advisory roles, they can speak with the federal government.
That is what I told you they have agreed to do. Now, at the zonal level, that is the APC control state in Nigeria, agreed to go together, meet the national chairman of the party. From there, move to the Federal Ministry of Education, move to the Federal Ministry of Labor, then eventually reach the presidency. This is how dialogue is being done. Right. This is how we expect results.
So, just to show some level of seriousness, has any governor been mandated to lead talks with ASUU, or will this be left to the federal government? What I mean is, are the states ready to take on any part of ASUU's demands?
No, the issue is very clear. The governors have no issue with implementing the agreement. But like I said, let the federal government as the body, the national government, accept it. And once that is done, no state will say, no, I will not comply with it. They have no reason if the federal government accepts it. Like you see, the commitment of these governors is very clear. That is the major issue and the security issues that dominated the meeting. Let me give you an example. Just 2 days to the commencement of the warning strike, the governor of Kebbi State released 450 million naira to Abdullahi Fodio University for the accreditation of medical courses, medically related courses. What happens to that now? What happened? Just 2 days to that. What happens to that? Look at it. This is just the latest investment he has done in education, in tertiary institution.
Thank you for talking about that, because that would have, prompted my next question rather. And I've also been wondering how the APC governors are responding to public perception that the government isn't doing enough for higher education.
Yes, it's giving serious attention to higher education.
I'm talking about the federal government. How did the APC governors respond to public perception that the federal government isn't doing enough for higher education? Did they have that conversation?
Only thing they did, like I explained, is they have a general overview of the situation, its implications, its consequences, and agreed that they will from far decide on the best way forward. And that they cannot do individually, they cannot do collectively as governors of AC control state, the party that controls the federal government. They have to follow due process with convincing reasons, because they are in the state. They may know better than the federal authorities. So that is the procedure. The question of saying they are not concerned about they don't care about public outcry, the public complaint. No, it's not there.
Did that meeting touch on funding, Mr. Idris? Did that meeting touch on funding or budgetary allocation to education, especially university education? Is there any commitment to increasing funding from the state level? I'll allow you to answer that question when we return from this break. He's highlighted the level of seriousness and concern expressed by APC governors towards the ongoing strike by ASUU. Mr. Idris, thank you for staying with us. So, just like I asked you before we went on that break, that meeting, did it touch on budgetary allocation of funding to education, especially university education? Is there a commitment to increasing funding from the state level?
At the state level, every state has its own peculiar problems in the educational sector. So it depends on what you have, and then you go about doing it. The federal government allocation, the states can only advise through meetings of this nature, because they have governors forum. Apart from progressive governors forum, it's a larger forum that involves all governors of all states, regardless of political differences. So it depends on your priority. Like here in Kebbi, I know the priority is surely on education, clearly on education. Can you believe that this governor offsetted over 4 billion naira payment of tuition fee and registration fee for both foreign and local students? These are the things he inherited. And if he has no interest in education, he wouldn't bother. Does not include establishing more secondary schools, establishing more primary schools. In fact, establishing comprehensive schools that will teach formal education and skills acquisitions. So that is the Kebbi State I know. And if you look at in Kano State, they also have similar, if you look at Zamfara State, you look at Sokoto State, Katsina State, and Kaduna State in particular, Katsina and Kaduna State. If you know the investment they have been making in education, you won't believe it. So education in all progressive Congress-controlled state governments is being given priority. And is the funds and the projects are being released as at when due, and the projects are being executed to standard, just to improve education. In fact, some of them, like in Kebbi, that increase or review the student feeding from 150 million to 300 million, just to ensure that the students stay in the school and learn in a very conducive atmosphere. What is wrong with that? In addition to that, you see, that is most of the state. In addition to that, he declared free education to all the students, all indigenous of the state, from primary to university to teacher.
Are you still talking about Kebbi State, Mr. Idris, or you're talking about Kano State?
I'm not talking about Kano State. I'm talking about Kebbi, Kaduna, Katsina, and Sokoto states, that they have their different approach, they have the different priority, but the priority in almost all of them is given to education.
Right. And you know, I asked that question because many universities are state-owned, and I wanted to know what APC governors are doing in their respective states to prevent or resolve ASUU strikes at a state level. But somehow you've given me examples from Kebbi State. And again, there have been conversations about how education spending is not proportionate to the state's revenue or needs. So I want, for the purpose of clarity and for those listening, I want you to give us a breakdown of how much of the state budget goes to education. Because at the moment, Kebbi State has a high rate of out-of-school children with 67.6% of school-age population out of school.
No, that is, I'm sorry to say, the figures given are not true.
They're not true. Okay. What's the correct figure? What's the correct figure?
No, I cannot give you the correct figure now. But what I do know, in an attempt to bring back students or school-going children or students to school, that is why I said he reviewed the feeding allowance of students from 150 million to 300 million. He provided all the necessary facilities that are required to make students comfortable in their school and in their classes and in their hostels.
So how do you measure the success rate of these policies? Kindly hold on, sir. If the government continues to pump money for instance, into the education sector, and you have over 60% of out-of-school children. How do you measure the success rates of some of these policies?
No, they have been measured appropriately and accurately.
How do you measure?
When you measure, like now, just last 2 months, the governor provided vehicles to schools inspectors under the state urban universal basic education. He provided motorcycles for the inspectors that they should be going around. They should be supervising, inspecting the performance of the student as well as the performance, the commitment of the teachers. So what more, that is one of the ways he now measure the success of the performance of the students and the commitment of the teachers.
So apart from people going around the schools,
so,
are there...
I would go there.
Yes, Mr. Idris. So apart from people going around these schools and seeing whether or not some of these things have been brought to the schools, are there third-party audits? For instance, this is what some states do, third-party audits or public reports showing how education funds are utilized.
Yeah, of course, yes. No responsible government can allow its accounts not to be audited by a specialist or consultants that are expected to be just and fair, that is expected to give proper account of what has been spent, what has been utilized in various sectors, not only education. So in Kebbi State, the situation is like that, proper and the proper procedures, due process are being followed in the execution, in the release, and in the utilization of funds being provided for each sector.
All right. We'll come back to Kebbi State in a minute, but let's stay on some resolutions made at that meeting. Because I heard Governor Hope Uzodinma describing the meeting as a strategic platform for reflection on Nigeria's socio-economic direction. In what ways was that reflected in the conversation or the discussions? And I also heard him say the meeting focused on harmonizing national and sub-national policies around economic transformation. He talked about social inclusion and sustainable development. Can you elaborate on how the governors approached this goal?
Yeah, you are very correct. That has been clearly spelled out and made public. They appraise the general performance of their states in all sectors. They compare it with the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu Renew Hope agenda, and they are insisting on religiously following that agenda. And all these programs, they tailor it to meet the objectives of the President's Renew Hope agenda. You understand? All inclusive. What that means, every sector of development must be taken very seriously. Seriously in the sense that adequate funds should be provided, expenditure and the utilization of funds should also be monitored and see how it has gone. They also discuss on what that is. They now bring together their own efforts, their own strategies, and that of the federal government, which of course is APC control, so that they will be on the same page on development. That is what all-inclusive. Everybody, every sector will be included, and the federal government is expected to monitor, to lead the way forward for development of all these sectors that will improve the well-being of Nigerians generally.
And that sounds good, but please help us, Mr. Idris. You were at that meeting. Were there any specific economic or social policies reviewed or proposed?
And there are. Like they did it holistically. What I do know, they have agreed to look at the agricultural sector, where they have a comparison, like it was done in Kebbi about a year or 2 years ago, when Kebbi produce the rice, while Lagos uptake and sell to the populace in Lagos. That is where we have lake rice being produced in Kebbi, but being sold in Lagos. That is an agreement, an arrangement made between Lagos and Kebbi state government. That is what brought the name Lagos Lake Rice, Lagos Kebbi Rice. That has produced, that is number one. Number two, to ensure high production of farm produce. They also exchange ideas. They look at it holistically. How can it be improved? Now, the KB version was carefully studied, and maybe some of them may be able to implement it, or others may look at it the same way. The policy is a governor provided fertilizer, herbicides, insecticides, other palm produce, power tiller, solar powered irrigation machines to get to the farmers in the state free. And that was what led to abundant, a large production of palm produce in Kebbi. And eventually, it is where the price of goods, farm produce, started dropping in Kebbi State before it dropped all over all other states in the country. So that is another issue, whether they will look at it and how are they going to approach it. Can all of them apply the same method applied by Comrade Dr. Nasir Kaurangwandu in education, agricultural development? That is the other area. And then how do they harmonize their solution to the prevailing armed banditry in their states? Share ideas.
What was their resolution on that?
And then there will also, you see, there are two issues there. Some are against negotiating with the bandits, while others are saying if the communities involved can do the negotiation, they will have no issue. But I think the general consensus is these negotiations have been done severally and in many states, and it has failed. So let them jointly synergize and find lasting solution to it. That is by way of complementing the federal government support in curbing the armed banditry in the country. Like I said, that was done by Kebbi State Governor. Can you believe that in the last 2 years, he provided more than 100 Hilux vehicles to security agency, 5,000 motorcycles to encourage them, requested for additional military base around the states so that the people can properly be protected. And he requested, with this compliments from the governor, the federal government saw it wise. Well, let us also support him. And that was what led to allocation of 3 Jaguar vehicles, fighting vehicles from the headquarters of from the defense headquarters, while the IG brought 2, and even requested for use of aircraft for surveillance. And in addition, just not more than a month ago, the government requested for naval base, which was agreed by the chief of naval staff and is established in Yaoli, the riverine areas of the state. So if all of them can look at, they are looking at all of them, but they have not released whether or not they will go together on the same page, or everybody will take his own decision on the best way to handle it.
All right. Because I read the communique, and I also saw that the governors resolved to replicate and sustain priority federal projects within their respective states to deepen nationwide development impact. Is there a timeline for when states are expected to begin implementation? Is there?
You see, yes, it all depends on the capital projects being executed in these states by the federal government, and which are many, and which are being carried out as I'm talking to you. It depends on the contractors handling these projects, like the Sokoto Badagry Superhighway that cut across Kebbi State covering about 250 kilometers out of 1,060 kilometers that cut across about 7 or 8 states. As I'm talking to you now, they are working. The work is in progress under the supervision of the Foreign Ministry and the governor himself, because he periodically visits this project site to encourage the contractor and to insist on fast-tracking the execution. That is number one. Number two, there is another project the state government requested the federal government to intervene. That is dry ports, where goods from all over the country can be stored or can be brought for people to buy. The dry port is located in Bagodo local government, Sabia in particular, where we share border with Benin and Niger Republic. The farmers or business men from Togo, from Ghana, from Benin, from Niger will bring their goods here to the dry port, while our farmers from far away, Anambra, Rivers, Borno, Yobe, can also bring their goods to this dry port. Transaction will be carried out. Those that are going out of the country will go heat-free without any harassment or intimidation by anybody. While those that are going into the country will also be carried out peacefully and comfortably by the transporters. So these are some of the areas that federal government would intervene. Already, the site has been acquired. The government, the governor of Kebbi State, Comrade Dr. Nasiru, has paid over 300 million naira as compensation for those farmers whose land will be affected or will be used for the dry port. So these are some of the problem. And another issue where the federal government is intervening and is working is completion of abandoned federal roads within the state, not only Kebbi. Is there. Not all right. It's not
all right, Mr. Idris. You know, interestingly, Nigerians thought that meeting was a very important one. But what is more important is what happens after the meeting when these governors go back to their respective states. As I'm sure you've heard this before, there have been growing accusations from Nigerians that some APC governors are not doing enough to complement President Tinubu's efforts, especially during this period of bold reforms. How do the governors respond to this criticism?
How do they respond to what?
Did you hear my question? You must have heard this before. Some Nigerians, there's been this growing accusations that APC governors are not, or some APC governors are not doing enough to complement President Tinubu's efforts, especially during this period of bold reforms. So I'm asking, how do these governors respond to this criticism?
Well, actually, I don't know whether that issue has been discussed to the best of my knowledge, but I do know that most of them are doing very well. Very well in the sense that even those that came to Kebbi, when the governor of Kebbi State took them around to some of the projects he executed, they couldn't believe it. That he can execute this project within 2 years and the impact of these projects.
But do you agree with me, Mr. Idris, that you can only speak for your principal?
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying.
No, you just said some of them are doing very well. Because kindly hold on there. I mean, performance measurement is complex. There are many factors. You look at economy, you look at security, federal funding, state context. All of these factors influence how a governor is judged, and states have different starting points, and that's a valid point. But would you honestly say all APC governors are performing equally well? Or would you agree there are some who generally need to step up?
Well, anyway, I cannot, like you rightly said, I can only speak for the governor of Kebbi State. I cannot speak for others. But when comparison were made, it was discovered that most of them, I cannot say all of them, are doing very well. Because if they are not doing very well, they cannot come and see physically what their colleague has done, and they publicly commended his performance. If they cannot do that. And like I said, I can only speak for the government of Kebbi State under Commander Nasiru Idris Kaurangwandu. I cannot speak for others, and I cannot say they are not doing well, because it's what.
And you cannot also say they are doing well, Mr. Idris. Now, let me take you back to Kebbi State. 10 days ago, yes. Honorable Ibrahim Mohammed, and that's the member representing Beni Kebbi, Kalgo, and Bonza federal constituency, urged the federal government to strengthen security and infrastructure in rural communities across Kebbi State. This is Honorable Mohammed insinuating that the governor has not been handling this matter with utmost concern. Is this true?
Well, it is not true, and the reason why I say it's not true, Ibrahim Mohammed is a member of the House of Representatives representing an opposition party, and he cannot speak for other constituencies in Kebbi State. His area where he's representing is one of the safest areas in this country, in this state, sorry. And as a result of the efforts being taken by the governor.
Is that why he shouldn't call the federal government's attention to other constituencies?
No, he can. But if he said that the governor is not doing anything about security in the state, that is mischievous. That is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
So what is the governor doing?
I have explained to you, if a governor can...
You haven't explained to me, Mr. Idris. This is my first time of asking any security-related question in Kebbi State.
Okay, that's right. Although, like I said, I've said it before, but let me repeat it. A governor provided 100 Hilux vehicles to the security agencies, 5,000 motorcycles to the security agencies, requested for additional military bases around the state for proper vigilance and protection of the land and the properties of the people of Kebbi State. And he is always on. He has always been to where there is reported attack, provide succor to the affected people. That's why I say, I cannot say there is no armed banditry attack in Kebbi, but Kebbi is better off. I repeat, it's better off than some of the neighboring states. So what the member Ibrahim Mohammed is saying is a politically motivated allegation based on party politics.
All right, sir. I must also agree that it should not be about visiting people who have been attacked. It is his responsibility to ensure that these attacks do not continue. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Abdullahi Idris, Special Advisor on Communication and Strategy to Kebbi State Governor. Thank you so much for your time. We'll have this conversation some other time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons